Okay, there it goes. We are in volume 6 of the Bible story. And this part is part 3, story 2, Orphan Girl Becomes Queen. Okay. There must have been a lot of excitement in Persia those days. Every girl from India to Ethiopia in all the 127 provinces of the empire was talking about the king's search for a new queen. Everybody hoped she would be the one to be chosen. And you may be sure that every mother was certain their daughter was the most worthy of this high honor. Kind of sounds like a Cinderella story, don't it? By the king's command, beauty contests or the like were held in every province, and the loveliest girls given a free trip to Shushan to the king's for the king's inspection. Shushan, yeah, that's what it says. As more and more girls arrived at the palace, Mordecai had an idea. Why, his Esther was far more beautiful than any of these young ladies from Syria, Egypt, Arabia, and other parts of the country. They couldn't stand a chance beside his precious little star. They weren't in the same class. Esther was far and away the best looking girl in the world. I'm sure you could win, he told her one day after seeing some of the latest arrivals. You are so much lovelier than the others. Why not try and see what happens? It could be that God wants you to be queen. This story says that she had the choice, but in the movie or in the actual story, they were captured and they had to go, regardless of whichever movie you think you see. Like I read somewhere, these are cleaned up for younger audience. Okay, okay. Let me get back. Finally, Esther agreed, and Mordecai took her to the king's house, to the custody of Hegai, Haggai, Hegai, Haggai, keeper of the women. As Mordecai bade her goodbye, he added one word of caution. Don't tell anyone that you are a Jewess, he said. That might spoil everything. I won't, said Esther, and she was gone. When Haggai saw Esther, he was so struck with her beauty that he felt sure she would be chosen to be queen. So he gave her the best rooms in the house, of the women, and 7 maidens to wait on her. This was encouraging, but it didn't mean that Esther would be queen. After all, the king all the had to see all the other girls before he could make up his mind. And there might be someone else prettier than she. And then it has a picture of Mordecai dropping her off. And basically, she's going to go to school. And she just couldn't tell that what nationality is. She is. As for poor Mordecai, he waited impatiently for news of his precious daughter. He felt certain that the king would choose her. How could he do otherwise? But suppose he didn't. What would happen to her? Would she be allowed to come home again? And Mordecai walked every day before the court of the court before the court of the women's house to know how Esther did and what should become of her. Couldn't you see him pacing to and fro, looking up at the barred windows, hoping to get a glimpse of her face or wave of her hand? Oh Esther, where are you? I could hear him calling. What has happened to you, my little star? 12 months passed, a whole year. Then one day Esther was called to meet the king. How excited she must have been. How hard she must have tried to look her very best. How she must have prayed for God's help and guidance on this greatest day of her life. Mordecai was waiting outside, you can be sure. And when Esther walked from the woman's house to the throne room, dressed in the finest robes the Persian court could supply, and attended by all her lovely maidens, I, she can I can imagine he almost burst with pride. Such a dream she was, such a beautiful, glorious dream. Onlookers in the corridors gasped in the wonder as she passed by. Indeed, she found favor in sight of all them that looked upon her. At last she came into the royal house, or into the house royal, and the king was overcome by her breathtaking beauty. It was a case of love at first sight, and the king loved Esther above all the women, and she obtained grace and favor in his sight more than all the virgins, so that he set the royal crown upon her head and made her king. So she was chosen. And we have two pictures. I'll show you all of it. The first one on this page has Mordecai walking back and forth, looking for Esther for the whole entire year. And they had to do 6 months of bathing and florals and taking baths, and then 6 months of etiquette. And then here at the bottom is Xerxes seeing Esther in the most beautiful yellow dress. So the one on the front of my book is Esther. Wow. So now we know. And guess what? That was the end of part 3, story 2. So guess what? We got a break. So we're going to break, and then I'm just looking at this, and I already got some words I don't know. But see you in a minute.